And Bud's already looking at it. Yeah. All right, I'm just getting set up. Almost there. Almost there. My project manager can talk. That's all I'm saying. Let me get my desktop set up and then you guys will be able to see it soon. Actually, you know what? You might be able to see my welcome screen now. So let's go there. Hello, 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 and welcome to another Daily Code Fun. I am Humberto Cruz Orfila Jr., aka One Lion, and I am here to entertain you with all of my shenanigans and woes. And you can laugh at my situation. We got some stuff to talk about. Extend display. Probably gonna break stuff while I do this while my camera is showing. Go indeed. Hello, Amin. Hello. Happy fantastic Monday to you. Change my monitor or TV or whatever you call this big thing that I'm using as a monitor. Okay. I wish I had my mobile studio, but it's way over there. Let's get this off. So we have some stuff to discuss, and I am wondering, for those of you that are here that work in a team or have worked in a team, I'd like to get your opinions on branch strategy. I know that that's a term or a buzzword or whatever. I'm sure that it could mean different things to different people, but I'm trying to get this thing under my feet. Hey, Git Flow. What is Git Flow? Is that just something that I can look up? Do you have a link that I can look at it? Because I'll tell you the strategy that they're wanting us to have. I don't know any strategies by name. I just have a flow that I think sounds good. But I could be completely off base because I haven't worked in a team before. The only thing that I've done is worked as a solo dev with one other person. So I guess I did work in a team, but with one other person. Eagle, I'm so glad you're here. I got some news for you. If you guys don't know Eagle, he is, among other things, the creator of B Unit. So just real quick, since you're here, I'll tell you, I was able to convince them to go B Unit, but they're not going to drop Selenium for the end-to-end testing, which is okay because they have Selenium already set up and installed and automated and stuff. And they're just looking to automate it even more so that when I add new UI, the tests are automatically created to be able to click on stuff, find the strings that should be localized, find everything that they need. But I'll be writing B unit tests for all of the component testing. All of the components that I'm creating as the new UI, which is so much fun. Okay, so here are all of the branching patterns. Perfect. I would love to use this. But let me tell you what the pattern is that they came up with and the issue that I have. Oh, don't worry, I can get that. I'll just copy pasta. Yeah, you did say that you prefer Playwright, and that's definitely not B unit strain. So we'll be using both. I was able to leverage the blog that you wrote and use a lot of the information that you put there. I was just hoping to get them onto Playwright as well because it sounds like it's perfect for our .NET UI testing, automation testing, but they did go with B unit though, which is awesome. I'm gonna love writing those. All right, so the strategy that they want is we have a master branch. Master branch has CI on it, obviously. And it has a daily build. So not only does it have the check-in for master and build, but it also has a daily build, which, you know, is broken They have to go in and manually do stuff behind the scenes to get it to actually build. So they didn't want, because we're doing this new effort with the UI integration and all of that stuff, and I'll be working mostly independently on doing all of the pulling the existing code into my UI code, hooking everything up, doing surgery, all of the fun stuff, and then checking in. So like I do mini check-ins locally. That was weird. I do mini check-ins locally, and then I squash commit, squash push when I'm done with my, I don't know what that was. When I'm done with my work for that segment of work, whatever my logical partitioning of work is. So let's say that we were redesigning this page here, this agile page, for whatever reason. And I was specifically working on these cards here. The first thing that I would want to do for one waifu, for one small unit of work is getting the article content, the whatever you call this, the synopsis or whatever. So I know how to get each of the article content along with maybe any pictures that are in there. The next thing that I would want to do is have the read more button take me to wherever it's supposed to take me to. The next, I don't know. It's really hard for me to break up the units of work for this card here, or this, whatever you call these, extracts. But I would be doing all of that work in mini commits as I complete each item, and then I would do the squash and then commit and then push, so that there's only one commit that's going to the branch that I'm working in. But I was supposed to be working in master branch, which means that it would be pushing to master branch. Well, they decided as of this morning to put a gate on it where we need one reviewer to review it, because they want us to do code reviews for each other. There's 3 developers that will be doing the code reviews. And what that means for me is if we're supposed to constantly be keeping master branch up to date, I finish my work on the small part that I'm doing. I do a commit and a PR for one work item. Oh yeah, I forgot to say that. We have GitHub and we have Azure DevOps. Azure DevOps has our work items, which we're creating ourselves. And the idea was you create a work item, you create a branch that is PR work item number, because GitHub has no connection to Azure DevOps at the moment, which is like, you could still reference the repository so that we could connect the work items and the actual commits. So there's that. We then submit the PR to, we pick whoever, and we say we need a code review. And that code review is sitting there, and you're waiting for that code review to be finished so that you can merge it to master, so that you can create your next work item, so that you can branch your master latest. And it's like, then we're going to have multiple PRs to the same master, which is okay. But like before we merge to master, I don't know what the whole work process was supposed to be. What I'm trying to get to is during the period where we're waiting for our code to be reviewed, how do I go about keeping the changes from my PR that might be needed for the extra work that I'll be doing after that work item? So let's say that I'm working in the same Blazor component for my next work item. One work item is get the data using the existing methodology. The next work item is perform the actual work that clicking on this button does with those items. I can't do that second bit of work until the first bit of work I've gotten all of the work items, or I've gotten all of the items to be operated on, is done. And so they're like, you branch off of your PR branch. And I'm like, okay. So we branch off of our PR branch, which means once the review happens, then that PR branch for the very first work item is going to be merged and then deleted, which leaves my new branch without a head. And so I'd have to rebase it every single time that I want to do more. Ooh, code review while it's being written. Yeah, unfortunately, because of our schedule, we aren't able to do that. But that sounds good. That sounds really good. So what Eagle said is, on my team, I always push for pair programming. That means you do code review while it is being written, and then just push to main. So just real quick, though, is that a normal branch strategy that I have not read in here yet, which is one branch per work item with a merge at the end of that work item that needs a code review? Yeah. So given that we're a team of 3, essentially, that means that whenever they have their work item commits, I'm going to get an email that says review, and I need to do that as soon as possible. Even if I'm in the middle of a really complicated thought, I need to drop what I'm doing, review their code so that they can move on to their next work item. On the same token, I would expect that when I finish my work item and I submit it for review, that gets reviewed immediately and merged so that I can branch off of master, because they're still calling it master, and do my next work item. Because my thought was feature branching, if I understand feature branching correctly. So my thought of feature branch is I work on one area or one feature with a whole bunch of features already listed in Azure DevOps. So I work in one feature until that work is complete, doing my mini commits, and then I squash merge with a PR to master. And that's the thing that gets reviewed. That way I can work on this area that's not affecting my next area. So then I can go ahead and start my work on my next area as soon as I finish that. Yeah, and they lead to large pull request reviews. Exactly, Eagle. Exactly. And that was part of our discussion as well. So these are the things that I want to discuss with you guys. Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I think you guys understand the stuff that we're doing. Hello, prog testing. Amin responded, my team strategy, bug fix, feature, experiment, story ID dash branch name. So you go by story. Or no, you go by bug fix, feature, experiment. It just happens to be part of a story dash branch name. Got it. I also wanted to pull up this link that Skod put, copy, and pasta. Okay, so this is the Git Flow workflow. Cool. So if you guys missed these 2 links, this is a Martin Fowler link. Uncle Bob. Uncle Buck. Anyway, this is a Martin Fowler link. Hopefully, if you're watching in the future and you want this link, you can see it here. And it's not too small, and you have good resolution. And then this is the one that Scott gave me, which is specifically on the Git Flow. I will need to review these in full in order to understand them. But I'm going to read through chat. Egil was responding to the end-to-end testing thing with either Selenium or Playwright. He just prefers Playwright for good reasons. So if you don't know that one, oh, I don't think that I have that article readily available. And then here's a picture. Here's a picture of Git Flow. I didn't see that, but now I do. Feature. Oh, we're starting from master over here. All right, so here is our master. Here's our development branch off of master, which has a hotfix in there, which gets merged into the current development branch as well, or after it is merged back to master. So you merge the hotfix into the development branch. That's interesting. That's really interesting to me. I would have thought there would have been an arrow directly from here to develop. So merge from master to develop after the hotfix is applied. But yeah, anyway, multiple features. This is a far future release feature. Yeah, the thing that I don't quite understand is the difficulty level. And Git Flow is way too complex for most teams. Man, but this is how my brain works. How much effort is it when you're done with the feature to rebase to this? So as I understand it, when you do Git repos or when you do branches, this thing is still going to be based here, even if you make changes, right? And so whenever you're ready to commit your feature release, then you need to rebase it to the most recent commit. Is that right? That's the part of Git that I really, really don't understand. Like, how much overhead is it for me to continue creating branches off of my development branch? But this is the crazy thing. There's one development branch that has the features coming off of it. Hey, guess what? The PR review that I submitted this morning at around 5 a.m., and it's now 11 a.m., is just now approved and reviewed. You pull from develop. Combined with feature flags. Yeah, so we don't have feature flags yet. I am planning on turning on feature flags. And I think, so if I understand how it works correctly, first of all, I don't know how to access config in a WPF app. So this is a WPF app with a Blazor web view in it. So I'll need to learn that. I'm sure it's easy to access config if we're going to use config. And then the second is how do I feed it the configurations during the release, during the CI process in Git, and then how do I allow command line arguments to turn flags on and off as well. Because we'll have our testers that will want, for example, we have 3 total skins. The first skin is what it currently looks like, the classic view. The second skin is the standard consumer, what their current view looks like with the new UI redesign. And the third skin is what it would look like for the or what it does look like for the commercial side. So the same application is used on consumer machines as well as commercial machines. Did I say the same UI? The same application, if I didn't say UI. And so the picker to switch between the different UIs should only be available for testers and developers and presenters, like if you're going to be presenting this to VPs and whatnot to get their sign off and say, here's what we can do, here's what it currently is. Yeah. So I was thinking of using feature flags for that, is what I was trying to get to. So this picker would have a feature flag that says you're able to switch skins. In the future, they want the ability to have the commercial view also switch to the standard view, so that functionality is already there, but it's not a feature that we would have turned on right away. Yeah, and this is the thing that totally gets me with this flow. I understand that it's really good for making sure that we're checking in good code and we're getting peer review, and the project manager wanted the rest of the team to know the work that I'm doing and be familiar with it. So he wanted the other two developers to do the pull request, the reviews as well, so that they can learn the new UI and how it integrates and how it uses their existing backend and mimics a lot of the same stuff that the existing code does. Um, I already forgot what I was saying. So that's the whole point of wanting this review process at all. Make sure that everyone knows what everyone else is doing. There are no silos. I guess silos is just the easiest way to say it. Everyone touches everyone else's code, or at least everyone reviews everyone else's code, which is cool, and that's fine. I have 2.5 sprints to complete the integration work. So any amount of time that I'm being held up from being able to move on to the next feature is going to be a pain point for me. Especially since I also need to write unit tests for all of my components. So I should be doing that while I am doing the changes, the integration. Yeah, pair programming is the most efficient way to do it. The other thing that's going on is the client has expressed their interest in the UI effort being #1 priority, and the project manager so we work for a client as a consulting firm, and the client has expressed, we want this new UI to be priority, delivered by specific date. And we said, all right, we're going to need, I forget how much time they said, but they decided how much time that they need for localization after we get all of the strings and text solidified. We need this much time for localization. We need this much time for testing and user acceptance testing, functional testing, and whatever the third type of testing is that I can't think of off the top of my head. That is not automated, that someone is actually going through. We have a physical testers. We have 2 physical testers doing it. Ooh, awesome. I'm working on a big project for the 3rd largest university in Denmark. That's cool. So yeah, this makes sense to me mostly, except that my single source of truth whenever I need to update my dev branch is going to be master. I don't ever see anything coming from master back to dev directly. But man, this makes sense to me. Eagle says it's potentially too complicated for smaller teams, and I'm on a small team. I would consider this team small. 2 developers, 2 hardware testers, and 1 user tester QA kind of guy. Did I say 2 developers? 3 developers. 3 developers. I'm trying to read the actual chat that I missed while I was talking my talk. You're not sharing your screen. Yeah, I was purposefully not sharing my screen until later in the talk because I wanted to hear what you had to say first. Pull request. Stop. I'll definitely read this, or listen to this. The measure of intelligence is the stability to change. Yes, agreed, Albert. But why pull requests are a bad idea? Pull request reviews or just pull requests in general? I'm gonna not answer that because I told him that I would not be available during this time. So I'm not gonna answer. It's my project manager. Okay, so you can also connect work items in commits by using the work item number in a commit message. Closes number blah. Cool. And you're saying that, Eagle, with regard to knowing that the work items are actually specified in Azure DevOps and the commits are being stored in the GitHub repo, correct? Because there is a separate GitHub organization / repo that is different than the Azure DevOps organization repo. Oh, just give up. You can just text me. Good grief. But yeah, I'll have to read that when I get down to the bottom, read your response to that. And then he was talking with Scott about people do not like to be told they're doing things wrong. True. True. And that's why that video had the video that I will watch has a lot of downvotes. That's the problem with the pull request. You have to wait for reviews. On my team, I always push for pair programming. Yeah, pair programming. Oh, that's where I was getting to, by the way. I was responding to this comment. Because we are 3 total developers and we have a client that's saying, here is our priority, our project manager is saying, we also have these other things that you guys had already said are priority that we are trying to deliver because we said we would deliver these items by X date. And so he has 1 developer working on the core features for that new functionality. He has me working on the new UI redesign. And, jeez. Oh, good grief. And he has the 3rd developer working on a 3rd feature. And that makes sense to me. So then that means that if any 2 developers are pair programming, then one of the features is not being completed. One of the asks that the client wanted with the next release. And so he's trying to, negotiate with the client. If we do this, we need this number of assets, or yeah. But then he also wants everyone to be familiar with the entire code base too. And I'm new to the team, so I can understand why they wouldn't trust me committing directly to master. I wouldn't be offended if that was the reason that they want this gate, but I also think that it's slowing down my velocity as a developer. I can catch on to code bases relatively quickly. I've proven that multiple times now to myself. And once I understand the code base, I burn through the work pretty fast. So what we have down as maybe 2 to 3 days. So we estimated an effort level of 3 to be somewhere between 2 and 5 work days. Is that right? 2 and 3 work days. And then an effort level of 5, somewhere between 3 and 5 work days. Depending on what we find out or what we run into. But anyway, point is, whatever we put for those, I'm still confident that I'm going to be getting done 3 or 4 items that are effort level 3s in the same workday. Because of how small we broke down the work items on that document. Martin Feller is definitely not Uncle Bob. He's not. Martin Feller is someone else. Is Uncle Bob. Sorry, that's Robert Martin. My bad. My bad. Thank you, Eagle. My bad. Thank you for fixing me. Okay, I do want to read Eagle's response to my question about pair programming. Or it wasn't the pair programming, it was the other thing. Martin Feller is Martin Fowler. Robert Martin is Uncle Bob. Yeah. So I always team up and do pair programming with new devs that join my teams and join somebody else if I join a new team. It's absolutely the best use of the time and quickest way to become comfortable with the code base. If I agree with you 1,000,000%. I do have a caveat, which is work schedules. And the way that our office currently works is a way that says the responsibility is on you to get the work done at your schedule. And as you guys know, my schedule is pretty routine, and anything outside of it would be cutting into my personal life. And while that may be okay for a lot of people, a lot of developers, it's not okay for me. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it would normally be okay with me, but I am trying to be a healthy human. Okay, so then there was a conversation between Scott and Eagle with a lot of hate. In that very long article, he gives the pros and cons. Yeah, I'm gonna read it for sure, because that's what I asked you guys. That's what I wanted to know. How long lived our feature branches? Half a day and 7.5 work hours. Oh yeah. I have an answer of what they decided on for the next iteration of this when I brought up my concerns. In that case, we're aligned. If your manager wants you to have more than one person be familiar, yep, for that. Working on a big project, that's really cool. I wouldn't say that this Git Flow is complicated, but we have different opinions. I got taught about it and spent like an hour reading about it. And then Eagle says it's not complicated as in hard to understand, but it does add a lot of ceremony that might not be needed on all projects. The other goal for this review process and breaking these up into work items is visibility to the client. I don't understand how that part of it works, where the branches are going to be the visibility to the client, because I don't think they're ever going to see the branches. The only thing that they're ever going to see are epics, user stories, and possibly features in Azure DevOps. Yes. Okay, so Eagle did answer my question. And he said, yes, Azure DevOps will read your commit history and change status on tasks based on it. But first, you have to link up your GitHub repo to the Azure DevOps, and that's what I asked them to do. Because even if we don't use it, it's not going to hurt. I'm just used to, for example, Armit's Azure dev.azure.com/armits. I've already forgotten how to get here. Yeah, I think. Do I have access? I might not have access. I do. For example, DDMS. Repos. Nope. Work items. No, work items is what I wanted. Stop it. Where are all of my work items? Oh, recently created. Hello? They're not going to be assigned to me. One of these has to have. Okay, so for example, I am used to having the ability to relate work items to a user story, as well as in Visual Studio when I'm checking in code, associating it with a work item and saying this closes out that work item, or this addresses that work item. And then that gets put into here. So I'm definitely used to that. And that's what I would prefer to still be doing, regardless of whatever branching strategy they want to use. But I was like, if you guys want to go branch per work item, how about if we go branch per feature and then associate work items with commits? Are you okay with that? Yeah. All right, so doing CI and CD does require good quality control, absolutely. And then we talked about teams, we talked about Martin Fowler. In a distributed team, pairing can be hard, so you have to do what you can, probably. Pull requests, feature branches, PR reviews are not bad, but as the unpopular video points out, there are better alternatives if they fit your organization. Then I'll definitely want to check that out so I can have a more intelligent discussion with my project manager. Okay, so I have 4 resources that I can use to learn from and then take information back. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Eagle and Scott. I really, really appreciate that. And I mean for your strategy, for your team strategy. Even though it was just one blurb, it still has a lot of information. Cool. With that said, we have about an hour and 15 minutes to do some work on the financial management application. So let's take a look at it. Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, though, Eagle. Your input is greatly valued, and I appreciate you taking the time to send me information to type that out. God aften, says Scott. Aften? Aften? Oh my goodness. Hold on one second, pretty please. Okay, apparently my schedule doesn't mean a thing to my project manager. Okay, here we go. Here we go, here we go. So what we've been doing with the financial management application is it's running. It's running. Let's open it up and see where, because I don't have it. Yeah, I do. What? Okay. What we've been doing with this application is a bit of TDD, or at least some version of it that hopefully follows, hopefully a lot of principles from TDD, which is writing out a bunch of tests first. That's the bot. Bot, go over here. Writing out a bunch of tests first. Having them fail. And once I'm done writing those tests, implementing the methods until the tests pass. Yay, which means that I actually do want to stop the app because we'll be running the tests. So for example, this test here. I ran with debug. How do you run without debug? Is it just Control R regular T? I think that's the case. Okay, so that test fails as expected. This test should also fail. It does. Add deposit passes. And it still does. Perfect. Okay, so the reason that add deposit is passing, even though I said we're going to write a bunch of tests first and then have them fail and then make them green, is because I wanted to know that I could write a test that eventually passes. So I used that as my example of how to write the test. And you guys were, again, super duper instrumental and helpful with helping me understand how to even do the setup part of this test. So this is going to be delete deposit sets deleted flag. So the goal is to use soft deletes. When we are deleting the actual transaction itself. The reason we would want to use soft deletes, I'm leaning now, and this is up for discussion. If anyone has opinions, of course, you definitely don't have to. Again, I appreciate everything that you've already weighed in on. So this is really just me talking out loud. And then if it strikes a nerve and you're like, no, then you can definitely weigh in. The reason that I would use a delete flag is if the value needed to be tracked for historical purposes, such as audits and stuff, or the value was from a lookup table where there are existing records that are referencing it, a foreign key, essentially. There are existing records that are referencing it that if you deleted the record itself, it would break that reference. And in this case, I don't think a deposit transaction needs to be soft deleted. I guess another case would be undoing, the ability to undo a delete. Scott, you gotta see this little red face. No. So I'm thinking that this is actually going to delete the deposit record and the associated transaction record instead of doing a soft delete. Yeah, so Scott is saying in our project we have his deleted property set to 1 for deletion. So yeah, soft delete for Scott. But is it for my personal finance transactions tracker that I've downloaded, I've installed on my machine, I'm running it and tracking my own personal finances on it with my database, with my own data only. So not a shared database, nothing like that. Do I need to keep transactions that I have purposefully deleted using my UI or using the UI of the application? What that's going to do if we don't is make our summing total for the account balance a little bit more complicated. But not much. It's just we're not deleted. So to soft delete or not to soft delete? At the moment, the transaction table does not have a deleted flag, probably because I went through this mental exercise already. All right, now what if I consider the larger case? Let's say that this database handles multiple people's account information. So by login, we have 2,000 people using this app, and each of them has on average 2 accounts, a savings and a credit card. And on average does some low number. Let's do 10 just to make it easy. 10 transactions a month for their credit card account and 2 transactions a month for their savings account. Let's say they get paid on the 3. They get paid on the 5th and 20th, and they pay their credit card bill on the 20th. Very specific. It's because that's what my schedule used to be. So that's 13 transactions per user. Yeah, I would use Entity Framework to update the database to add the flag, definitely. So it's a super easy change where we would just add the flag. The question is, if I have a large database, one database that is shared with a lot of people, the consideration is now instead of removing records from this table will only grow. And this is a high add and read table. So I would, the 2 operations that would be performed the most are adds and reads, with a few updates and even fewer deletes, which means that this table would most likely only be growing at a pretty fast rate on a daily basis. Okay, so we can implement a rule that is purge after X days. Is it possible for it to skip rows that have the delete flag? Absolutely, yeah. So when we're displaying, we would filter anything that is deleted. Filter out anything that is deleted. And then from a user standpoint, once they push the delete, and yes, I'm sure I want to delete kind of confirm thing, then the record no longer exists to the user, but to an admin or someone that works at the company that maintains the database. They say, I accidentally deleted a whole bunch of transactions and I only meant to delete one of them, and I need those numbers back because I don't have the documents for them anymore. I don't have receipts. That's the only place that I could get the information from. They were like, well, you're screwed because that's not what this app was intended for. No, we won't be like that. So we can say you can recover within 15 days. I mean, that's interesting because I've never written any automated database rules for that. So I'd be interested to find out how to do that. With that in mind, instead of having a delete flag, I would probably, if we're going to have some kind of expiry date, put a purge date, a nullable purge date, so that we can specify our business rules that says when you mark a record as deleted, what you're doing is adding a purge date that is X number of days out. X can be set in code or in the running application. So it'd be datetime.utc_now plus X days. And then this can be cleared out if the user doesn't want it deleted, and it will be ignored if purge date is not empty. What do you say? Does that match our requirement? And here, like, if I had user stories, we wouldn't have to make this decision now. We would have made this decision a long time ago. User story would be something along the lines of, I accidentally deleted a bunch of transactions and I was able to recover them within X number of days. Okay, we're going with that then. So let's do this migration. I already made the change to the data structure, to the entity. I have other changes, so maybe I want to commit those other changes first. What was this one? I just renamed. Instead of transaction data, I just put transaction. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. We're going to stage you. And we're going to say changed, removed data from method names. What is this? And I also created some new tests. Added more tests. Except before I commit the test, I want to make sure that I clear out my delete test. No, did I actually close the tests? Can I get just the file? Dang it. Okay. We're going to add some of those. Well, we may as well write this then. And then we have the get by ID that we can steal this from. Not null still. The result is not null. We want to make sure it wasn't an error, and we want to make sure that the database is null. Not null. We want to make sure this was if we were going to actually purge it. Have you ever used CQRS? The answer is yes, but have I purposefully done that? Maybe I've purposefully done it without knowing that it was CQRS. This needs to be not null, and the purge state needs to be not null. And these two are the same. Okay. Pasta. Okay, so let me commit this. Wait, what? Stage those and added remaining tests for deposits. We'll commit staged. We will, oh, we don't need to do anything with those. Those are good. We'll say that, actually we'll do the migration before we commit that one too. So let us, that's already set as our startup package manager. It's already set as our default project. Add migration, added purge date in transaction. Let it go. I understood. Is there any standard for handling errors and exceptions? Most likely. Like using the CQRS pattern? Because as I understand it, exception handling is kind of its own beast. That has a lot of discussion with it. Like, where exactly do you put your exception handling? Do you put it close to where the exception occurs, or do you put it close to where the exception is displayed or logged or whatever? That'd be one example of So Scott is saying you handle errors that often occur. And Scott says in the service layer, I like that. I like that a lot. That's where I put mine. Yeah, and then use exceptions for errors that do not often occur. So I think what he's getting at is you should be able to test ahead of time using if else or some sort of control, logic control, to mitigate errors being thrown, exceptions being thrown. That's probably really good practice. I can't say for sure, but I have heard that throwing exceptions is a lot more expensive than handling them using if statements, sanity checks, validation, etc. But when you're going to handle unexpected exceptions, like when you're surrounding a database call with a try catch because you don't know if suddenly the database connection might be down, or the user loses internet connection, or whatever happens, then definitely you can handle those and try catches. But Skod and I seem to agree that a good place for it is in the service layer. And by service layer, we mean what is the thing that is doing the call to get the data, or to process the data, or to perform the operation. That's your service layer. For me, my service layer would be, for example, this transaction service. And I have two versions of that. I don't know where anything is at the moment. Forgive me. I have a shared server and a shared client. That's what I have. So in my shared server, I have the services that perform the actual operations on the database if I'm connecting to the database, on the file system if I'm doing anything with the file system, versus on my client side, which just does HTTP requests. And so I have error handling for what I'm not expecting, such as I can't reach the website because I'm disconnected from the internet, or the website suddenly responded with HTML when I'm expecting JSON, and so I couldn't deserialize the HTML. Instead, I'm deserializing JSON, which is a deserialization type of exception. So notice that both of these are in the service implementations. And then they update the model that's being displayed to the user with user-friendly information. Stuff that we can display to a user that is meaningful enough but doesn't give away any of our underlying logic. The other benefit of that is, let's say that it's an error 500 that happens. So something on the server errors, and then the client receives that error 500 back. There isn't really any meaningful data that you would get back from a normal HTTP response that is running in production that is caused by some error that happens on the server. You lose the majority of that information. So the only real thing that you could display to the user is there was an error that happened on the server. I don't know what it was. But what I do instead in that case is I have this response model that has user-friendly information, and that's what gets sent back to the client. Even though there was an exception that happened, it's still a full valid response. So this branch right here is a 200 OK. Even though there was an exception and it failed. I still don't know what I'm using this for. Oh, I have a note. I need to remember this every time. Awesome. Okay, so we have a migration. I want to take a look at the migration file real quick. The only thing that we're doing is adding a nullable column called purge date to the transactions table. And the SQL that gets generated should reflect that. Click it, go down to the end, alter table, add column as a datetime2 nullable. So let's go ahead and commit this change. Update database. Apparently database starts with a G. And it's also pronounced database, not database, and not data, data, D-A-D-A, or D-A-D-D-U-H, or, okay, so cool. It was successful. We can go and take a look at our database. Database. Database, 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 database. Oh, crap. I told him 12:30 and I was going to call. Okay. I had to reschedule a support ticket thing. Good times. All right. We're going to commit this as added purge date column. What? Where are you, fingers? Column 2 transactions table. And if you blinked, we just did an entity framework migration to add a column to a table, code first migration, and I just committed it. Yata. Okay. So does that mean that all of our methods have a test? We can find out if we look here. We can see our code lens. And again, this is Visual Studio Community. You get this for free. So cool. Anyway, shows that we have a test here for this method. We have a test for this method. We have a test for this method, a test for this one, and a test for this one. Craziness. I'm not testing the constructor. Yeah, get Enterprise for better code lines, but still, you get this for free without Enterprise. And not only that, Enterprise gives you code test generation too. Right click, create unit tests, but you can do it for an entire class as opposed to per method. And it's so weird because I installed XUnit, and for some reason, I can't generate XUnit tests. But yeah, you'll get this thing called IntelliTest in Enterprise as well. I'm sure that there are plenty of things in Writer that you get as a benefit for your coding flow. Personally, I haven't used it, so I can't speak to whether there are things in Writer that I would want, but I can say that Visual Studio Community has everything that I want to do. Dang. Oh man. What does tomorrow look like for me? Gosh. My calendar is so crazy right now. My next okay, cool. Depending on how long after. Okay. Good grief. Sorry, I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. Like, I'm not usually super involved and busy and stuff with those types of things. At least not in a way that makes me interrupt the stream. Like even when I was working at the Rocky Mountain Arsenal, I would interrupt the stream for my junior developer, but it was like, I don't know, 2 or 3 times a month at most. And this is like 3 weeks straight now. Oh, don't know how you put up with it, but I'm glad you do. All right, so with those check-ins, actually, I'm going to go ahead and commit these, push them, just so they're not sitting up there, in case I don't remember to push later. So those are currently all up in the GitHub repo, which is in the comments. I think I have it in the comments in the YouTube videos. If not, and not in the comments, in the description of the YouTube videos. If not, I probably should start adding it. Nope, I do, because I have to keep cleaning it up from the markdown when I'm exporting it from Twitch. So anyway, the GitHub repo is below in the notes. I can't even think of what it's called right now. And also, for those of you here, live is right there. All right, so let's run all tests. Let's get these nope. Wait, maybe that was run all. Get these big fat red X's. Yeah. Actually, the X's themselves are black. The dots around the X's are red. Cool. And now we'll go through these one by one and turn them green. Provided my actual test itself is written well, then they should prove that the code changes that we make are good. Other things that we should do are consider edge cases for every single one of these tests and then write test for those. Yes. Oh man. Okay. Oh, my shoulder is itching a lot. So here we go. Let's just go in alphabetical order. Why not? We are in the transaction service on the server because all of the client ones are just doing nothing. These aren't being tested currently. I'm only testing the server side services. Client side is just going to be HTTP requests, which is just going to mock a HTTP request. So let's go with var context equals await db context factory. Man, it's been so long since we've written actual code, database code, that I almost forgot how to do this. Okay. Right. So there's more fun stuff. Yeah, I think I'm going to do it this way. Last time I did find and man context. Find and man context. Going to make sure it's not null. IDB context transaction. I usually call these trans because I'm lazy and don't feel like typing. Then inside of my try catch is where I try to get a DB context from the context factory. Because if an exception occurs while trying to establish the connection to the database, I want that to be caught inside of my try catch. And I think this is just going to tell me that I don't need to initialize it to default. Yeah. Wait. Right. Right. We'll find out what it tells me about the transaction. Await context dot begin trans dot database dot begin transaction async. Oh, all right. Redundant? Not yet. If trans is not null, which I guess means we do want you to be nullable. Okay, so trans is not null. Trans await trans rollback async. No cancellation token there because we don't want the rollback to be canceled. That would just be weird. I guess we need to assign you to null. Finally, if transaction is not null, await trans dispose async. So no matter what happens, whether we're successful or not, we want to dispose the transaction at the end of all of it, provided we did get a transaction at some point in time. Next, we're going to get our record from the database. To delete equals transaction context dot transaction. So this transactions here is a financial transaction record from the database, completely different from this transaction, which is a database transaction. Not confusing at all. Good job, me. And we're going to do first or default. So this is a case where I could either have it throw an exception if we don't get a record back that matches the passed in ID, or we could just go ahead and say, give me default back instead of throwing an exception. And if to delete is null, then we're going to return a response that we were not able to delete the record because there was no matching record. Oh, yes. I have no idea why Thank you, Scott. Thank you. No idea why I did it that way. But up here, we're going to actually have a response. I don't know how to spell. Resp equals. And we'll just do resp add error. That's good enough for me. And then we return resp. which means we really don't need to create a transaction until we're down here and we know we have a record to be deleted. And since we're querying it this way, we're going to get change tracking. I do have code made, but I don't use it very often. Maybe not as often as I should. But what we're doing here is we're setting the purge date equal to datetime UTC now dot add days. And for now, we're going to hard code 15. What are we going to call this? The purge time frame? Purge life? In application options. Settings? Something. Anyway, so we're just adding 15 days. And all we're doing is we're updating a record. So our resp.record count is going to be await context save changes async with a cancellation token passed in. And once this is successful, then we can await transaction, commit async, passing in the cancellation token, because up until this point, the user can still somehow cancel this operation. So even if we do save changes to our local context, it will not get pushed to the database unless and until commit async is called. Do we have the record ID by the way? So once we get down here, we'll go ahead and set the record ID. I think I'll do it up there. I think I'll do it right off the bat. Let's do it here instead. So the affected record ID is going to get sent back with our responses, whether or not this was successful. And we will know that this was not successful if we make it here. Now, do I have a logger? Did I set up my logger? I didn't set up my logger. So the only thing that we currently have is the error itself, the thing that we're sending back as our response, but I'm not logging it anywhere, so it's not helpful, really. So I'm just going to leave it with this message. And what I would normally do is have a not if debug. I would have this all the time. Var logger equals logger factory create logger, exactly this, but I don't have a logger factory at the moment. I would do that using high logger factory up here, and logger log error. Here's the thing that happened, kind of thing. Why don't we go ahead and do it? So we can get one out of the box. It's not going to be like configured for very much. I have the oh, but that's going to cause some issues with our what was the drive home message? Oh, it's this song. I have my music turned down. Is it talking to you? Hello, Java Grunt. This song is being weird to you. Failed to get the current song. Oh, stream elements failed to get the current song. I need to turn off stream elements for song. I was like, I know we set that up. Chatbot, chat commands. Song. Okay, I turned off song so that now only my bot. Oh, you actually get the song popped up on your screen. Is that new for the soundtrack? So I'm using a thing called Soundtrack by Twitch. And that will show you what song is currently playing using the little icon down here. But you're saying that it's showing up in the top right for you? That's kind of annoying. Yeah, so new song just started for you, or for all of us, called Autumn, and that popped up for you. That's annoying. Is it a setting? Are you on a mobile device by chance? Is that going to be hard? You're on mobile. Yeah, I wonder if it's just the way that it does soundtrack on mobile devices. Okay, I'll find out. Go here. Okay, iLogger factory. Logger factory. Create and assign a private field. So the problem with adding iLogger factory now is that every single one of my tests will need to mock an iLogger factory. And I don't know how to mock an iLogger factory. Public static. They're static, right? iLogger factory. Maybe it's mock of iLogger factory. See if I learned anything from what we've done before. And that'll be cheater. Oh, but is this gonna have the async? Are you gonna have the create logger async? Is there even an async? No, it's not async. Great. Grand. I think that's going to do it for us. So we mocked our logger. Thank you, GitHub Copilot. So then logger factory.setup. Oh, crap. Logger.setup. Log error. Ooh, this one's harder. Because I don't think that we'll be able to do params this way. So what's going on here, in case you didn't see it, is I have a wait, why are you erroring? Oh, because I don't have EX defined. Okay. What I have here is a string template, and then I'm passing in the parameters for that string template into my logger. And the reason I'm doing that is because I watched a Nick Chapsis video a million years ago that said it's better practice to use string templates rather than interpolated strings when using loggers because of the overhead that you get with interpolated strings, unless you are using Serilog, which takes care of that for you. And the reason is that this string here, instead of needing to recreate this string over and over, which if you have an interpolated string, this is a new string that has the appropriate value put in here, which would be ID in this case. So instead of recreating a new string every time we hit this line, we store this string essentially like a constant in memory. So it's only created once. And then this is just substituted into here, which is faster. But with Serilog, it does that with interpolated strings. Apparently. But there's no guarantee that we're going to use Serilog. Actually, there kind of is, but still. Just to make sure that we are logger agnostic, I'm doing it with a template. So that means that I'm going to need to allow any number of parameters in my mock of the logger. What is this though? I don't know what that. No, no. So I wonder if I would have to do this for every possible number of arguments that I would have that I would call during this testing or not. I'm missing a parent. That's one too many parents. That's what I thought, dude. It's a void, so it shouldn't return anything. I think that's what it's telling me. We just say it's successful. So then that brings up a test that we could do in this now, which is passing in an ID that doesn't exist will give us this message. But with that said, this method should now be complete. And if we run the test, there are build errors. What build errors? Oh, I needed to actually get the logger. It's not a mock data helper though. Whatever, who cares? Logger factory equals mock data helpers. We'll figure out a better place to put this. I am going to have to drop a little bit early, disfortunately. That's weird. How do I already have a cancellation token here? That's really confusing. Oh. Thankfully, I only have to do it in one place. Duh. Okay, so I have this helper method that is prepare the service under test. So I only need to get my logger in one place anyway, and then I get the logger in the service everywhere else. Okay. Okay, yes or no, sir. Okay, thank you, bye. I haven't noticed the pop-up, by the way, Java Grunt. I've been trying to keep my eye on my phone in between songs. Cannot convert from... Oh, right. Oh, yes, I did. I see it. It's not that big, so I hope it's not too annoying or in the way. But if it is, then I can use a different music thing just for you. It'd be hard work. Please say it's okay. So you're getting the actual contextuses, right? No, you're getting the mock. So I can do logger factory mock, object. Okay, and that should be good. Stop itching. All right, and as soon as we see this test work, I will check in my code and then we'll end the stream there. Tomorrow's stream should be scheduled for 1 p.m. my time, but we just need to keep our ear to the ground to figure out. No, 1:30 p.m. In case anything does come up. Okay, One Lion, can I see your schedule? Or 1 a.m. You know, same thing, right? What? Edit schedule. Oh, we built this city. while we're waiting for me, run test, update my Tuesday schedule, 1:30 p.m. Okay, so my Tuesday schedules have been moved to 1:30 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time because of meetings and other recurring events. Ooh, test failed. Why did test fail? Unsupported expression E log error. New. Oh. Aha. They gave me the answer of what I should mock it as. Thanks, guys. Save. All right, try that again. Okay. Same thing still, but that means it's getting to line 181 of deposit trans. Oh, so not supported exception. Extension methods may not be used in setup verification expressions. There's so many things that have blocked me from being able to have a good test written that have to do with things like this. We're not allowed to do a setup on log error. Okay, fine, whatever. Let's get rid of that. And we got a passing test. Awesome. Yatta. So delete should work, provided my asserts are covering everything for a successful delete. And we'll have to analyze that later. But for now, we're going to call that the end of the stream so that I can get on to my meeting with my project manager who wanted to meet before the next meeting to touch base with me. So let's go to this screen where I am still indivisible. Whoa, he appears out of nowhere. So thank you all for being here. Those of you that were here, those of you that were lurking, those of you that were participating. I really enjoy having all of you around. Thanks so much for being here. I will be back again tomorrow, probably too late for some of you. 1:30 is when I'll start. Any free C# courses recommended? Absolutely. If you go on YouTube and look for a guy named Patrick God, yes, spelled that way, Patrick God on YouTube. He has a lot of great material, but if you want to get started on C#, there is a fantastic course that I'll pull up real quick, but I do need to get going. And I share it often, but it's like an 8-hour video course thing. History. And it's called The Beginner's C#, C# Beginner something or other. Beginner. There, C# Fundamentals for Beginners. I will copy that link and paste it here without the timestamp. But this course starts from ground zero for learning C#. There's also Solo Learn for learning C#. It's an app that you can download for mobile. I think they also have a web version of it. And yeah, those will get you started. I'll be back again tomorrow, though. Should be back again tomorrow. If I'm not, I'll let you know ahead of time. I'll commit these changes that I made. Implemented, delete deposit. I'll commit this change. It'll be in the repo if you want to take a look at it. And until the next time, I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day, night, whatever time it happens to be for you. And yeah, ciao for now. Juice.